Chapter 15 is on the autonomic nervous system. This first slide shows the comparison between somatic and visceral motor. In somatic motor system, which we've studied, there's only one neuron that exits the spinal cord to go directly to its effectors, which are always skeletal muscles. The only neurotransmitter in play here is ACH. In contrast, the visceral motor nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, the effectors are ones that we cannot control: smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, and glands. Another huge difference is that the ANS has two neurons which synapse at a ganglion. The first neuron is called the preganglionic. The second one is the postganglionic. Without exception, the preganglionic neurons secrete ACH. However, the postganglionic neurons, depending on which division of the ANS, sympathetic or parasympathetic division, the postganglionics will then secrete either epinephrine, adrenaline, norepi, noradrenaline, or ACH. In this slide, there's a comparison between the effects of both divisions. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. Sympathetic is the emergency mode. You will note that most effectors get innervation from both divisions. Let's look at the heart. The sympathetic effect on the heart is to stimulate heart rate and the force of the heart contractions. Therefore, it has a little plus by it, meaning it's a stimulatory effect. In complete opposite directions, the parasympathetic division, the rest and digest, will lower heart rate. Now, even though these effectors get dual innervation, they always have input from both divisions. That is to say that in no case is any effector completely in sympathetic or parasympathetic mode. There's always a balance between the two. This slide also shows the difference in the way in which these effectors are innervated. You could see that on the right side, the sympathetic division is much more complicated. The parasympathetic is much simpler in the output, or where the preganglionics exit, and also the innervation is not as extensive. Again, most effectors are innervated by both divisions. This slide shows some sympathetic division ganglia. Recall from chapter 13 or 12 even, that ganglia, singular ganglion, are groups of neuron cell bodies. The sympathetic division has two sets of ganglia. One set would be within the two sympathetic trunks located on either side of the vertebral column. Here you could see within the sympathetic trunks, the gold globular structures are those ganglia, which are called chain or paravertebral. Those are within the two sympathetic trunks. There are approximately 22 to 24 of these chain or paravertebral ganglia. Again, they are located and are part of the two sympathetic trunks. In addition to these chain or paravertebral ganglia, and resting directly upon the abdominal aorta, remember aorta is the largest of the blood vessels, and as a group, these ganglia sitting upon the aorta are called prevertebral or collateral. They all have names, which we're not going to learn, but we will just address the main title. Again, prevertebral or collateral upon the aorta. This slide also shows one of the two adrenal glands. Each adrenal gland's interior is called the adrenal medulla, and adrenal medullary cells, once they're innervated by the sympathetic division, they release epinephrine and norepinephrine directly into the bloodstream. As such, the sympathetic effect on the body is longer lasting because this epi and norepi input directly into the bloodstream acts essentially as a hormone, and those are longer lasting. This slide just isolates and talks about the sympathetic division. Again, we have two sets of ganglia. The first would be within one of the two sympathetic trunks. You will note that bracketed off would be T1 to L2, T thoracic, L lumbar. Within the lateral horns of the spinal cord levels, T1 to L2 would be the preganglionic neuron cell bodies. Those, of course, exit and go into the sympathetic trunks as myelinated white rami communicans axons. Here, if there is a synapse, the postganglionics, which are unmyelinated and therefore look less white, more gray, and are called the gray rami communicans, those will proceed to the effectors. In some cases, the preganglionic fibers bypass the sympathetic trunk as far as synapses are concerned and travel straight to the what? Prevertebral or collateral ganglia. Where are those situated? Upon the aorta. In summary, the sympathetic division to neuron chain is also referred to as thoracolumbar. Why? Cell bodies of the preganglionic neurons are located in lateral horns, spinal cord level, T1 to L2, therefore thoracolumbar. Sympathetic division is also referred to sometimes as the adrenergic division, and that is because the neurotransmitter secreted by the postganglionics would be noradrenaline or norepinephrine, therefore adrenergic. Parasympathetic division is much more simple to understand. Here, there are no parasympathetic trunks. Collectively, all of the parasympathetic ganglia are referred to as terminal or intramural. Terminal, far away from where the preganglionic fibers exit. Intramural means within the walls of the effectors. Here we have the preganglionic cell bodies located either within nuclei of the brain or within lateral areas of S2 to S4. Therefore, cranial within the brain, cranionuclei, or within spinal cord areas, S2 to S4. Lastly, both the pre and postganglionic parasympathetic neurons secrete ACH. Summary over here, again, parasympathetic division, preganglionic neurons. Where are the cell bodies located? Either the brain or S2 through S4. They secrete ACH. Postganglionics, the cell bodies located within terminal or intramural ganglia, either close to or within the walls of the effectors, and they too secrete ACH. Therefore, another name for parasympathetic could be cholinergic, standing for acetylcholine, cholinergic. The last two slides, this being one of the last two, I've developed, gave you a little stick figure representation. To explain the last slide, let's look at this. How many neurons in the ANS? 2. What is the name of the first one? Preganglionic. Its cell body is indicated as a dark dot. The axon of the preganglionic indicated as a solid line. Preganglionics will then synapse with the second neuron called the what? Postganglionic. The cell body indicated in a purpley color here, the dark structure, and the dashed line represents the axon of the postganglionic neuron. And then, of course, postganglionics innervate the effectors. This last slide that I've put together is a nice, I think, summary to the two divisions. Sympathetic division, the emergency mode, more complicated. Remember that the preganglionic cell bodies are located within T1 to L2. The postganglionic cell bodies are located either within the what? Chain or paravertebral ganglia within the sympathetic trunks, or ganglia located upon the aorta. As a group, those are referred to as prevertebral. Neurotransmitters. Sympathetic preganglionics always secrete what? ACH. Sympathetic postganglionic neurons secrete NE, and that's just my abbreviation for norepinephrine. Recall that norepinephrine and noradrenaline are the same thing. In similar fashion, adrenaline, epinephrine, same thing. They are slightly different. Norepi and epi are chemically slightly different. I'll leave that to the physiologist. Finally, the parasympathetic division, much more simple. The cell bodies of the preganglionic neurons are located either within the brain nuclei or S2 through S4. The preganglionic fibers, many of them travel with cranial nerves, and they synapse within intramural or terminal ganglia. Remember, very close to or within the walls, intramural, within the walls of the effectors. And the parasympathetic, both the preganglionics and the postganglionics, very simple, they both release ACH as the neurotransmitter.